Alright, welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Classic.
Welcome, revelers. Off the Rails, Right versus Left. You can email us at otrrvl@gmail. I'm Rob B. With me, as a lot of times,
Brian G.
And it looks like we're waiting on Brad, but when he gets on, he can join the conversation. Today, I saw a really great interview, so I want to make sure to share that with you guys, and then talk a little bit about like propaganda. Like, man, the world is full of it. You can call it propaganda, you can call it fake news, but like we seem to be desensitized to actually like paying attention to what is propaganda and what is real. So there's a lot of different propaganda that I want to talk about. But since we're talking about sharing the interview, don't forget to like, comment, share. We'd love it. It helps us out with the algorithm so people can see us. And, you know, we're awesome. Everybody should see us.
We are awesome.
Anyway, of course, I forgot to mention, Brian is our leftist sympathizer. I do have a question to ask as a good Catholic. Since pretty much every leftist is pro-abortion, which is obviously satanic human sacrifice, do you still sympathize with them?
I don't support abortion at all, but,
Every leftist supports the murder of unborn children.
pretty much.
And you still think they're human? Okay, they're human. They're just devil worship.
I just think they have bad ideas, wrong ideas, and some of their ideas are even wrong.
Yeah, like devil worship. Everything
and then, of course, Biden's comments, never helps in the State of the Union.
Yeah, and when he did that one address, I was thinking, it was all kind of like, Hitler-esque.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, it more looked like the backdrop of a satanic ceremony. I'm just saying.
Well, you think one thing everyone could agree on is the abortion towards the end of the pregnancy.
Dude, they want to stab him in the forehead as they pop out.
He even took that out of the frame by saying, if they send me an anti-abortion bill, I will veto it. It's like, you couldn't say, just if they, God, it just drives me crazy. It's like, so he's basically saying, even if they sent me a bill saying partial birth abortions, I would veto it.
Well, so I love when I love the clarity behind the message. I want unity, and the way we're going to get there is you're going to do everything I say.
Yeah, I will veto everything you bring me if it's not what I want, but I want unity. Come to me and talk to me, and let's work our issues out. But I'm going to veto anything you give me.
Dude, let's face it. He's going to veto everything that gets passed for the next 2 years.
Oh yeah.
But not much is going to. Wow, we already have 28 views. Nice on LinkedIn. That was fast.
Go figure. You and I are on here without Brad.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, nothing's going to pass the Senate that the House passes. Nothing that the Senate passes is going to pass the House. So it's not like he's going to have to follow up on that threat to veto something. Because I doubt there's going to be anything other than like budgets that get passed. And even the budgets, he's probably going to be vetoing and say the Republicans are pushing us off the debt cliff, which is a lie, because like the Internal Revenue Services takes in enough cash every single month to pay the obligations.
Is it really Biden who's vetoing it? Is it really, or is it the people that control Biden that's vetoing it?
Jim Henson, I don't know. Goes to Jim Henson.
And we all know that he's just controlled by other people.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why he's always sniffing girls. He needs a feminine scent because some guy's got his hand up his rear end all the time. Yeah. So he's feeling a little emasculated, maybe.
Well, he does love taking showers with his child daughter when she was a kid, and sniffing hair and whispering into little girls' ears. And
that one creepy one where he's like talking about, yeah, I've known her since she was a little girl. Yeah. Like, wow, that was a little creepy, Joe. How do you know little girls?
Yeah, because he showers with them.
Anyway, all right. So, enough about Joe Biden. So you're still not giving up on the devil worshippers?
Me?
All right. So we'll put it in the left's terminology then. Since you won't disavow all those Satanists, then you're a Satanist.
Okay.
All the leftists talk. Anyway, it's one of my favorite shows and one of the most popular shows in the country. But there's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful interview with Kamala Harris. I just wanted to make sure that we shared it with our viewers, just in case you watch the show. So here it is.
Made of Happiness, which is the name of her gun. So I'd listen to her for sure. Where was I? For more on all of this, we've got a surprise special guest. Joining me live from Washington, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Hello, Greg.
According to the Times, your own advisors have referred reporters to Democrats for quotes praising you, and even they say they've lost hope in you. What do you have to say about that?
Well, in order to galvanize everything that we have already discussed and everything that we've already brought down to America, okay, I think we need to understand that everything that we have uncovered and unburdened, we will continue to uncover and unburden even more going further.
Hillary has a history of supporting all liberal women running for office, but now she's saying you're doomed. What are your thoughts?
Well, when it comes to Hillary, and, I can make a list and send it to her on her private email, but I think she's well aware of everything that we have tried to bring and tried to undo more than what she has done and accomplished as her time as First Lady. Don't kill me, Hillary.
James Clyburn, South Carolina rep, who often backs people of color, was asked if you should still be Biden's running mate, and he said he'll leave that up to Joe. What do you think?
Look, we've galvanized a lot with electricity. And look at how much we've done with yellow school buses. Okay, think about the electric school buses for all the children. And they know that everything that we have unburdened, we will soon burden even further, despite the fact that we have yet to do anything positive for the country and bring it to its knees.
Do you, last question, were you jealous when you saw your husband make out with Dr. Jill at the State of the Union?
That was so great. Joe's half dead. Let her live.
Well, thank you, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Dude, it was amazing, right?
That did sound just like Kamala, though.
Dude, I don't know who that was, but she nailed the impersonation of Kamala Harris. Like,
she got the voice down and the giggles and
the maniacal laughter that shows severe mental disturbance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That always was. Whew. Listening to Kamala speak really is kind of creepy over the time.
Yeah, it is. And that voice can get so grating, especially when she's really trying to convince you of something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the
So
best thing
anyways,
she could have done for her future was not step in as vice president, because she has destroyed any future she has in politics with how stupid she is.
yeah, you know what I think's like great about her? Well, I mean, okay, like later on in the segment, Tyrus made a very good point. Like maybe she's just not even trying, because when that's what you have in front of you,
Yeah.
nothing you do is going to make you look good.
True. Very true.
So maybe she's just like waiting for him to get like one more gust of wind going down the stairs of the airplane, you know?
Yeah.
So just a thought, you know, could be.
Anyway,
Anyway,
it's funny though, because I like Gutfeld, as I think he's a pretty funny guy, but I just never could get into his show.
I agree. So now I mean, like, really, there's just like certain segments that I like.
Yeah.
And I don't like watch Fox News, so all I really get is clips that go across on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook.
Yeah.
So as I'm watching, trying to keep up with what's going on. So that's it. Anyway, so propaganda. We were going to talk about it yesterday, because yesterday, I wish Brad was here, because we actually got into it about that whole nerve agent thing before you were on. So there was a purported video off of a Telegram channel that was supposedly Ukraine using a nerve agent against Russian soldiers.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, but I heard you guys talk about it yesterday.
Yeah. So now here's my thing. I don't know if it was the Ukrainians or if it was the Russians. But to me, if the Ukrainians have a WMD, which is what a nerve agent is, which is what the person purporting is, see, Ukraine's using WMDs. Why would they drop it on 2 people when there are 300,000 Russian soldiers in the country?
Well, yeah, when there's how many tens of thousands coming at them every day towards Bakhmut.
Yeah, Bakhmut and Soledar and all of that.
I mean, they're just throwing soldiers at them as cannon fodder to test their defenses and move them back inch by inch. Yeah. So why would they use nerve agent on them and not just 2 soldiers trying to cross a river?
Right. So
I know Brad was arguing. Well, it was like it was kind of like one of those guns the police use to shoot canisters of gas into people's homes to subdue them.
Right, but that's like exactly my point. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna have it in a frag bomb and drop it in a group of soldiers. So instead of
which I agree with you. I definitely don't agree with Brad. I tend to think it's kind of Russian propaganda that they're trying to make it sound like Ukraine's using weapons of mass destruction, even though it's only on 2 soldiers. And it's like, why would they be using it on just 2 people crossing a river? It's just kind of dumb.
Right. So, okay. So, and what I likened it to was like Putin and his intelligence services were saying that they had intelligence that the Ukrainians were going to blow up the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant.
Yeah, they've done that a few times now.
Yeah, and then I forget which European leader it was, but they basically implied, well, the same thing's going to happen in Russia if that happens in Ukraine, and suddenly there was no longer a threat that Ukraine was going to blow up the nuclear power plant, because they just said they were going to blow up a nuclear power plant in Russia if they did it in Ukraine.
Yeah, what they say is that's basically pretty stupid, and that if it happens, it's actually Russia that does it, and why?
Why would Ukraine, which is trying to save its country, knock out like a third of their power generation capacity?
Yeah, and spread nuclear waste across their own country.
And if and the only ones that would actually need that power generation capacity is the Ukrainians.
Yeah,
like the Russians can hook it up to the Russian grid, because they've got tons of nuclear power plants.
Yeah.
So that's why electricity is so cheap in Russia, is because, well, they weren't idiots and got rid of the cheapest, cleanest form of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like what the U.S. would be doing is they try to say, oh, well, everything's going electric, but they have no plan to build up the infrastructure to support the electric, which California is the main one, and they can't even support what they have now. But yet everything's going to be electric by 2030, 35.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how are you going to power?
Well,
how are you going to generate that power, and how are you going to get it to where it needs to go?
Well, and I think so. So then there's like determined strategy in warfare. I mean, you want to like psych out your opponents, obviously.
Yeah.
If you can blame them for all the bad stuff, and then claim that you're fighting honorably, well, I mean, Putin from the beginning is a terrorist, you know.
I don't think there's any hiding the fact that Putin is not fighting honorably.
Yeah, I mean, well, because like if you look at the Russian history, they've lost like every war they fought since the 1800s.
Yep.
And like, dude, they would not, if it wasn't for the fact that we were whooping the shit out of the Nazis on the Western Front.
Yeah.
And forced, and in the African front, forcing Hitler to split his forces in three, they would have swept through Russia. They would have eventually taken St. Petersburg and Moscow.
Yeah.
So kind of an interesting aside on that. When I was running in Russia, I did this series of races called the Russian Ring Runs, or the Golden Ring Runs. And it was all the towns that kind of lined the perimeter that have protected Moscow from an invasion for like 800 years.
Uh-huh.
So, and it was during that I found out that, did you know Moscow has 18 Kremlins, and then almost every major city in Russia has a Kremlin, because Kremlin just means fortress.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I think I might know that because we talked about it when you were living there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, well, hopefully that's an interesting tidbit for our viewers.
Yeah.
So,
hey, can you change that bottom band?
What's it say?
It's talking about this just in, the New York mayor spending the night in the homeless shelter.
Oh yeah, that was like last week.
I think didn't he put it on yesterday? I don't know.
Nah, it was a few days ago.
I thought it was yesterday that he added that down there. Whatever. It's no big deal if you can. I'm just saying it's just one of those.
How is there nothing here ripping on you?
Huh?
How is it we don't have anything ripping on you?
Because I'm too nice of a guy, and just so you guys keep ripping on each other. But
please. Okay, so the whole propaganda thing, though.
Yeah.
I do want to say about the whole Russian pipeline. I want to see the report. I want to see the sources on it, because both the U.S. Navy and the Russian Navy operated in that area before that. And even though they say it does not make any sense for Russia to do it, that's how they get their gas to Germany. Russia knew the other pipeline was about to open.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Nord Stream pipeline that's traveling from Russia to Europe, just because you just said the pipeline. So most people
the 3 out of the 4 Nord Stream pipelines.
The one that was bombed in the where was it bombed? It was in the it was the underwater part, right in the, it's not the Mediterranean, but where was it bombed?
Baltics. Yeah. So it was the pipeline that, so
supplies a lot of the natural gas from Russia to.
When they first broke down, there was this chick named Tymoshenko that was prime minister in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And she was actually tapping the fucking pipelines that were transiting the natural gas from Russia to Germany.
Yeah.
And was stealing it and selling it on the side market. And that's how she got rich. She ended up going to jail for that. I mean, that's how corrupt Ukraine is. Make no mistake, Ukraine is not a democracy. They are a massively corrupt oligarchy.
Well, I think that they're fighting for democracy, but they have been extremely corrupt. I think that's one reason that Zelensky got voted in on the platform of cleaning it up, of getting rid of a lot of the corruption, and he's been fighting a while to do that. He's, from what I've heard. Several of the cleanses that he's done, where he's gotten rid of a lot of the staffing in there, has been because they've been so corrupt.
Yeah, and like his turn, like Brad pointed out that he was turning on the guy that helped install him. And like he kind of made it clear that he was going after all corruption.
Yeah.
So if the guy financed him anyways, if he was corrupt, then he had to know that he was potentially going to be gotten also.
Yeah.
But like, so I think Tucker's the one that talks the most about it, but like Redacted talks about it too. Because oh my God, it's like these guys are hanging from fucking Putin's hairy tea bags. I don't even get it. But they're talking about how Zelensky's a dictator. He like shut down a church, a Christian church. Okay, he shut down the Russian and Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
Orthodox, yeah.
So why would he do that? Well, okay, just for the record, to be very clear, the Greek Orthodox Church and the regular Eastern Orthodox Church are both still operating. The Catholic Church still operates. The Baptists are still there. There's even Mormons there, and Jehovah's Witnesses and Muslims. There's still mosques open. They specifically shut down the churches that were controlled out of Moscow from the Moscow Archdiocese. Now, supposedly the Ukrainian church has their own separation, but for 20 years, everything the Moscow church says, the Ukrainian church puppets.
Yeah, they mirrored
so
it.
Yeah, so there's not really much of a difference there. Okay.
Yep.
So that was like propagandizing of what happened. And why? Because like when you're in the middle of a war, you don't want the enemy speaking directly to your people with the supposed force of God behind it.
Well, just to show how bad the Russian Orthodox Church is, they've called out saying, if you're a criminal and you go and fight on the front in Ukraine, all your sins will be forgiven and you'll be going to heaven for going to fight in Ukraine. It's like, what? That's how bad they are. They are 100% in Moscow's pocket, in Putin's pocket. So whatever helps Putin, they will parrot. And that basically went the same thing for the Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
And the Ukrainian church, when they got shut down, it's because they were literally saying that yes, Russia was wrong to invade, but Ukraine just needs to give up their territory.
Yeah.
So we can have peace.
Yeah.
Like the only person in the world saying that, or the only people, are Putin and his puppets.
Yeah, and I mean sort of China too, but they sort of try to stay out of it too. But
well, no, China hasn't said that Ukraine needs to give up anything. They actually said that like every country has a right to defend their territory.
Yeah.
They can't say anything about it because they think they have a right to go and take Taiwan back.
You think that, by staying out of it and not saying anything, they're sort of supporting it too. Because they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, Russia. They could probably, like, I mean, let's face it, right now, the way things are going in Russia would not have a war effort if it wasn't for Xi Jinping.
Yeah. And Iran and North Korea.
Well, Iran has nothing to do with it. I mean, Iran's sending them some weapons.
Well, they're sending drones over. Yeah, they're sending drones over to support them. They're also allowing them to build more of their drones. They're asking North Korea for artillery. I'm sorry, it's sad. If you're so desperate, you need to go to North Korea and Iran for your weapons.
Yeah, well, I mean, their bigger issue is their shortage of missiles.
Oh yeah,
like nobody can supply them with the missiles they need.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so the whole propaganda around that was like all Russian propaganda to vilify Zelensky, and then like the Russian propaganda about the Azov battalion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Azov battalion, there was like 20 people in this group that were Nazis, and they got folded into the Azov battalion after Russia invaded.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about kill the Russians. They were talking about the Russians that were fighting to tear up their country.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not justifying Nazis. Nazis are bad and evil. No one human group is better or worse than another.
Yeah,
You know,
when a
except white
country's
people.
fighting for its life, you can't
Yeah,
vilify an
except-
entire country because of a few soldiers.
except for white people. So saith the leftist.
Well, that's true. That's
So
true.
saith the
This-
flock. So saith the flock of sheep.
This war probably all has to do with white supremacy and the hatred of anybody who's not white.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and like, okay, so you remember in the territories that Russia went into, supposedly they captured a whole bunch of chemical and biological weapons manufacturing facilities. We keep seeing reports about it. You think if Putin had any evidence of this, we wouldn't see it?
I think it'd be everywhere.
Yeah, there were supposedly
See, I'm
hundreds of
right.
labs that they got.
Yeah, this is why I went into Ukraine, because of these weapons that they were building to kill my people. He would have been all over the news.
Yeah, and then like again, like don't forget to mention the fact that the reason there's so many Russian speakers in Crimea and in the eastern part of Ukraine is because the Russians slaughtered them and tried to get rid of all the Ukrainians and then replaced them with good Soviet Russians.
Yeah, he killed them off, and he also moved them out into other parts
like
of Russia.
most of the Crimean Tatars are now living in Udmurtia, which is around the city of Izhevsk, because they were moved there and forced to work in the Kalashnikov factory making weapons for the Soviet military.
Yeah, so then they moved their Russian volunteers and other civilians into those areas to populate it.
I don't think anybody volunteered.
Well, I think some people moved to Crimea that wanted to. I mean, it's a beautiful area from everything I've heard.
Yeah, it's actually one of during the Soviet Union, it was one of the like most popular resort areas.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful area.
And then like we've already seen Russia like utilize and authorize the utilization of chemical weapons.
Yeah.
In Syria, and I thought it was great. I think that's part of why Trump was so successful in keeping these nasty actors in the world from acting, because he said if you use chemical weapons, we're going to bomb you. They used chemical weapons. He bombed them.
Yeah.
And then, they stopped using chemical weapons. And then he went and had his talks with Putin. If you invade Ukraine, I'm going to flatten Moscow. He went and talked with Xi and said, if you invade Taiwan, I'm flattening Beijing. And then he talked with same thing with Kim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like after he just like went and bombed the shit out of Syria with Russia there, they're all like, okay, this dude's crazy enough to do it.
Well, and then he dropped the Moab in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, and then he took
non-nuclear bomb in the world.
Yeah, and he took out arguably the second most powerful person in Iran.
Yeah.
When he droned Soleimani.
Yeah, Soleimani. I was gonna say Khomeini, but it's Soleimani. Yeah, no, he showed that he's willing to do what he needs to if you're gonna hit other countries and throw people at the U.S. and kill us, we're gonna strike back.
So
unlike Obama's red lines that he kept moving back.
Yeah, he's like, don't cross this red line, or I'll be forced to draw it 10 feet behind me.
Yeah. And then they cross it, and it goes 20 feet back.
Yeah, you know why Biden believed in a lead from behind principle?
Because he stayed behind Obama for so long. I don't know, but
no, I'm talking about Obama.
Oh,
like his whole thing during Libya and all that was lead from behind.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the back, you're the closest to the exit. Anyway, so yeah, he was always ready to run for the door. Like Obama was a coward and should never have been the commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
But they did a whole lot of propaganda to make it look like a community organizer was actually qualified to be president.
A man who's never done anything in his life. Hey, kind of like Biden after all these years, who's never done anything with his life other than been in politics.
So I finally figured out an argument that I think could get almost every American behind the idea of term limits for Congress, though.
Of what?
Term limits for Congress.
Oh, term limits. Yeah.
Yeah. So check it out. You ready for this?
Go for it.
Almost everybody in Washington, D.C. is a fucking lawyer.
Just about.
Like, nobody likes lawyers. Vote them bums out and put some real people in. Like, as long as we got lawyers manipulating our laws, it's going to be laws for you, not for me.
I wonder what the ratio is of lawyers in the Democrat Party versus the Republican Party.
They're lawyers on both sides. I mean, look at Ted Cruz.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, most of them are lawyers.
And I mean, honestly, I don't have a problem with a lot of lawyers. I mean, my second father was a very, 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 very successful lawyer up in Alaska. I mean, very successful.
You know, the greatest
legal. Gabby was a lawyer. I love Trey. He was a great guy.
Okay, but the greatest legal document ever written, was written by a bunch of farmers and merchants.
No, I agree. Our founding fathers.
I think the problem with this country is too many lawyers.
And there was some lawyers involved there, like John Adams.
Yeah, I mean, but the majority of the people involved in that debate were normal people talking about how things impact normal people. The problem in Washington, D.C. is nobody there is fucking normal. They're all weirdos, wackos, and extremists.
Yeah.
And hyper partisans.
Yeah.
So so like I don't even really consider like the right hyper partisan. Okay. Because we do have some far right members. We do have like the MAGA group. We still have the remnants of the Tea Party group. So we actually have a bunch of different factions in the Republican Party, and then we actually have moderates that are like more libertarian in values. You know what I mean? On the left, they have Democrats that are pretty much leftists, and then they have leftists that believe in the same thing as the rest of the Democrats. And the only thing that the leftists disagree with the mainstream Democrats on is they don't think anything goes far enough. So pretty much the entire Democratic Party is hyper-partisan and extremist. That's why everybody fall in line like good little soldiers, just like the Nazis did.
Yeah.
Whatever Mein Führer Pelosi said, they did.
I love how he said she'll be known as the greatest Speaker of the House in history. Like, you mean the one who lost her party's position of power, 3-4 times?
But that's not solely up to her. Just like Mitch McConnell's not responsible for not getting more seats, or when he lost the majority in the House, and just
she divided us more than she's divided us so much.
Yeah, who's the minority leader in the Senate?
It's not Schumer.
It's the dude from what is his name? Is it Mitch McConnell?
No.
Something like that. Anyways, but that guy, it wasn't his fault that they lost the Senate race either. I mean, he screwed up some of those primaries, and but I mean, he was right. Like, he didn't support Herschel Walker, and Herschel Walker was a bad candidate. But once he was the candidate, he should have fallen in line, and he didn't. It's kind of like the same thing with the Never Trumper Republicans. Like, it was the same bullshit.
You're saying minority leader in the House or in the Senate, right?
Senate. Yeah.
Oh, that's not it.
The guy has been there forever, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name. Hey, you're actually using that computer to pull something up for the show. Appreciate that. Hey, while he's looking that up, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so we can annoy you on a daily basis.
Let's see. On January 20, 2021, Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris took office. Her tie-breaking vote established Democratic majority of the Senate, making Charles Schumer the majority leader and Mitch McConnell the minority leader.
Mitch McConnell. Yeah. So that's where is he from? North Carolina? Or is he from California? No, the guy in the House is from California.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell. And Why is it not saying where he's from?
Follow the hyperlink.
Kentucky.
Kentucky. That's right. Isn't Rand Paul from Kentucky too?
Is Rand Paul?
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, yeah, the heart of our country. It's got some great people there.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's not really their fault because the individual candidates are responsible for their own races. And again, the failures of the Republicans, to me, has been not like my whole rant yesterday about me being the, FTA party for president. It's the point. It's the point that even when they're talking about policies, they don't give their plan. They don't give you the solutions.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you what they're going to do and how it's going to work to solve the problem. Now, Democrats, they run on issues all the time. They run on emotional issues, but they're never going to solve the issues because if they solve the problem, you don't need them anymore. Yeah. So, and that's why nowadays, like, most of their issues are so, like, opaque that you can't even tell. Women's rights, except for right to compete against other women, and right to actually define what a woman is. You know what I mean?
Sorry, anyone who can't define what a woman is, this shouldn't be in power. I'm just like, this is just idiotic. If you're that stupid that you can't define a woman, you're not intelligent enough to lead anything.
A lot of them are gay. Maybe they've never seen a woman. Who knows?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we discovered, we explored the topic of men and women in like 5th grade biology, but I don't know what they're teaching anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like there was other like propaganda. All of these like we're in this together, like concerts and stuff, and like the actors like getting on and doing the shows and all that. That was all like propaganda paid for by the United States and the World Health Organization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but nobody could see it. There was tons of propaganda about the efficacy of the vaccines. Now, notice I'm not saying anything about the efficacy about the vaccines, but there was a lot of propaganda. Like they said it will do this, but they didn't bring any evidence to the page, and they just like kept promoting the same story without any evidence. And that's kind of what propaganda does. So like literally if you see something and you're just like, oh my God, okay, before you like go off with your gut reaction, like look and see like what facts there are backing it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and I mean pretty much anything about Trump, like propaganda. Chuck Schumer standing there like giving the press conference, I have seen the evidence that is going to nail Donald Trump to the wall. He's going to be impeached and convicted and blah blah blah.
That's so many flipping times.
And yet never once did they ever come up with any actual evidence.
Yeah.
Why? Because it was propaganda against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they do that. The media does that, like cutting up any take from any conservative, like just chopping it up and making it look like they're saying one thing when they weren't saying that at all.
Yeah.
On the flip side, like they'll report, like right-wing media will report with what a leftist says in context. And then they'll claim that it's propaganda taken out of context. No, it was in context. The whole quote is there. It wasn't edited or anything. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that, like, sometimes they're going to say it's propaganda or it's fake news. Other times they're going to be pumping fake news and pretending like it's legit. I don't know. But that's what the whole story about the nerve agent on the 2 Russian soldiers, it made no sense.
None. Zero.
Now, we do know that Russia has very little regard for human life, even their own soldiers. That's why they send them to the front without equipment and guns.
Yeah.
And, like, that stuff's being taken. Like, I don't know. So, dude, Russian is really hard to copy. Like, I was living there and I couldn't even, like, copy like the actual grammar, much less actually the accent or any of that. So like, even if you're Ukrainian, and Ukrainians, the way they speak, it's a very, like, they're a related language, but they're very, very different. It's like Portuguese and Spanish would be a good comparison. They've got a lot of base words and a lot of base relativity, but they're very different languages, right? So even a Ukrainian speaks Russian different. Like when a Ukrainian speaks Russian, the Russian knows they're Ukrainian. So when you got these people, like when they're intercepting the phone calls and publishing them and stuff, you can hear it's clearly Russian soldiers talking to their family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, we know that a lot of what's being pumped by the Russian side is like completely false. Like they're being churned into the meat grinder. So killing 2 people to try and justify using nuclear weapons in battles that they're using makes more sense than it does for Ukraine to risk a nuclear strike by using a WMD to kill 2 soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, so on its face, it should be glaringly obvious that it's propaganda.
Yeah, it's kind of like listening to somebody from Washington compared to someone from Alabama.
Yeah, and the reality is, the minute that Russia started like throwing hypersonic missiles into shopping malls, I think Ukraine was justified. Huh?
And schools.
Yeah, but I think, well, I mean, the biggest death toll from the hypersonic missile was when the one hit the mall.
Yeah.
So like, they're already using weapons of mass destruction to hit the civilian population. So I think they would be justified in doing it because they're already getting hit with an attempted genocide. But here's the problem. Right now, like, they're able to do some limited attacks on Russian soil, but they can't really utilize a weapon of mass destruction against Russia right now, even if they had them. So it's absolutely ridiculous. But I keep waiting for there to be a supposed weapon of mass destruction hit inside of Russia so they can claim that Ukraine did it. But I don't know what they're going to do. They have their hands full with Ukraine right now. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised for some city in Russia to disappear so they can say, well, Ukraine struck us with, whatever.
Yeah, and
they killed all these women and children and civilians. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the way Russians fight wars. So if they started getting it, like, it's kind of what they get. They did it in Chechnya. They did it in Syria. They were on. I mean, look at the way. So Georgia was trying to take back the breakaway republics.
Yeah.
They had little militia groups carving out little autonomous zones, like, chaff.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. And the Georgian military, which is small, it's like 20,000 people, but they went and tried to like quell the little rebellion going on there and disarm the militant separatists. And Russia went and ran through their country, like just indiscriminately blowing up buildings. I was in Tbilisi, Georgia. I can tell you for a fact that those buildings that they were hitting were residential buildings, because I saw people living in apartments with a wall missing because they can't afford to get another apartment. So they have to stay living in the building that's missing a wall because it was blown off by the Russians.
Yeah.
And that was when they went against an army of like 20,000 people. You know what I mean? So then they go up against Russia or against Ukraine. Now, I think if Russia had done this invasion instead of doing their sneak into, I think they thought they could actually support Crimea with just the bridge, and they can't. They can't get enough water over there. They can't get enough power over there. The bridge just isn't enough, and they need a land corridor to sustain Crimea, because like Crimea is starting to have a lot of problems under the Russian regime.
Yeah.
And so they need that land corridor, and that's why they went back in. But if they had just gone in full-scale invasion in 2014, there wouldn't be a Ukraine right now. Because by the time the world got around to doing some, I mean, obviously Obama was in office and he was a pussy. Like, I mean,
Yeah, pretty much any
like, I don't
Democrat.
understand how Obama got such a good impersonation of a pussy down when his wife doesn't even have one. But anyway, like, where did he get this expertise? Like, we heard from the guy that he dated in high school, like, Obama's always been gay.
Yeah.
So, he did nothing about the Crimea invasion. If it had been a full-scale invasion, he wouldn't have done anything about it. And I wonder if Putin realizes that, like, he missed his chance. Because then for the next 8 years, while continuously, like, trying to hold the line against Russian soldiers, and that's what they were, Russian soldiers operating Russian equipment in the eastern Donbass, like, say what you want about the West sending Russian weapons to Ukraine, like, how did the separatists have all Russian equipment?
Mhm.
They were part of Ukraine. If they were separatist regions of Ukraine, they'd be fighting with Ukrainian equipment.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They were fighting with Russian equipment.
Yeah.
They weren't. They were fighting with modern versions of T-72s. They put up S-400 missile defense systems. Ukraine barely has missiles to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, like, they never really bothered after the fall of the Soviet Union to focus on their weapons development and stockpiles because they had a security guarantee from Russia and the U.S.
Yeah, that's one thing that always bothered me with the beginning of the war is the promises we made that if they got rid of their nuclear weapons, that, you know, we'd support them against either the U.S. or Russia, depending on who.
And so that to me, that agreement, like, Putin can whine about NATO encroachment all he wants. Russia actually signed an agreement to protect the territorial integrity of Ukraine, not just if he liked their leader, but period. So Ukraine would give up their weapons. They could be a nuclear state, and Russia never would have had the guts to walk into
For
NATO.
anyone who can't remember, when the Soviet Union broke up, there was lots of nukes in Ukraine. Ukraine was a nuclear power. They had nuclear weapons.
They were the third largest nuclear power in the world.
Yeah, but they gave that up because of the promises that the U.S. and Russia made to support the integrity of Ukraine against the other one. So if U.S. invaded Ukraine, Russia would have stepped in. If Russia invaded Ukraine, U.S. would step in. It's making sure, and that's the promise we made. Well, Russia stepped in, and the U.S. said, well, too bad, we're not stepping in. Ukraine, fight for yourself. We'll give you weapons to do it.
Yeah, and then and they try and make the people have the right of self-determination. When the people going around handing out the ballots have a machine gun strapped to their back, and you know how they want you to vote because they got a Russian flag on their lapel.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to vote Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Because their assumption is going to be, you're going to fucking kill me if I don't. But up until, like, 2013, 78% of Crimeans identified as Crimean, 1% identified as as Ukrainian, 1% identified as Ukrainian, and something like 23% identified as Russian. In the East, it was 13% Russian. These were not majority Russian areas. They were majority Ukrainian areas. The Ukrainians just fled when Russian troops suddenly showed up and started, like, bombing any Ukrainian office building.
Yeah.
That's how the insurgency in the East started, was with Russian soldiers. That's how the Crimean takeover started. A bunch of people in unsignified uniforms, which is against international law. And if you remember, Putin's propaganda at the time, oh, it's not us. What was his deal in Ukraine? Oh, it's just a special military operation. We'll throw you in jail for 15 years if you call it a war. Yeah. So, but what is scary about the war over there is the longer it goes on, no matter how much weapons we give them, like, they might run out of Ukrainians before they beat the Russians.
Well, yeah, there's so many Russians and Russia doesn't care. They'll just keep throwing more and more bodies at it until they just overwhelm them with, like, a tidal wave coming in.
Yeah, I hope that the Russian people at some point realize they will fight until every one of us is dead if they keep going with fighting.
Yeah. No, one thing I hate is all these people saying that the right is for ending this war, that the right is for Russia, that the right, That's not true at all. What we call for is more controls over where this money is going. More accountability is what I'm looking for. Just
Well, I'm all for
it's going into someone's pocket to make sure it's actually going to what we're giving it to them for.
Okay, so if somebody beats the shit out of you and steals your wallet,
yeah,
and keeps beating the shit out of you, and you start fighting back, and nobody likes seeing the fight, that doesn't mean you stop the fight and let the guy keep your wallet. And that's what the people saying, "Oh, this war needs to end." That's what they're like saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if China invades the left coast and makes California part of China, and the war is like really horrendous, nobody in the U.S. is going to be like, "Oh, we should just give up California so we can have peace."
Well, at this point, maybe many of us might go, you know what? California
was just California.
China. Maybe it's a good thing we don't have them in our country anymore.
Yeah, it's just California. We don't need them.
Yeah.
Hey, can you guys swing by New York on the way?
Oh, my mom's from New York, and I have a lot of family there, so.
I'm sorry.
But they've gone kind of wacko in the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Like after that last Democrat governor, the fact that they elected a Democrat governor again, and New York City elected a Democrat mayor again, like it just proves what like Tim Pool's saying all the time. Leftists are in a cult.
Yeah.
It's an ideology cult, because no matter how much they suffer, they still follow their fearless leader no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My cousin's husband called me a Nazi because I told him to stop cherry picking words from Trump's speeches to make it say what he wants. And he called me a Nazi. I mentioned the whole, well, I expect that from a Democrat. He goes, "I'm not a Democrat. I never said I was left wing." I'm like, well, from everything you said, and you're from New York, you come across as a left wing fanatic.
Yeah, white people don't understand that you don't have to say that you're left wing when you're left wing.
Yeah.
Like everybody can see it. It's so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, if anybody tries to disagree with you, your only argument is going to be, "You're racist, you're fascist, you're a Nazi."
Yeah, you're a Nazi. It's like, dude, all I said is stop cherry picking words. Stop taking little words out of a speech so you can say, so it says what you wanted to say. You got to listen to the whole speech and use all the words, not just this word, and this word.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. What are you trying to pull?
What am I trying to pull? You're killing me here, kid.
I know. So, yeah, so I mean, that's I'm like so tired of leftists in this country. Actually, hey, Xi Jinping, can you come take California for hands? We'll give you California, let Taiwan have their independence. That's a good swap.
That's a good trade.
We'll trade you Taiwan for California.
Yeah. Can we give them Portland too?
Yeah, I think that's no, that's where I was born.
So they've got, man, there's still riots in Portland, and it's crazy.
Yeah, but I can't give up my hometown. Come on.
And don't get me wrong, I love Portland. It's a beautiful place, but man, the people have really got whacked. Crime is so. Whoa, hello, we lost Rob. Yeah, just what we're saying is Portland. I love Portland. My best friend, Jenny, spent a lot of time in Portland, so I spent a lot of time there with her. So I mean, I have a hard time giving up on Portland, but gosh, they've gone so far left that the crime rate is just through the roof. It's just crazy.
Dude, I said I should have known better.
What? Starting to talk about Portland?
Well, the minute I said China, like my signal started screwing up.
Yeah. Yeah, every time you start talking about, or either one of us start talking about China, you disappear.
Yeah, like I don't know how they did it, but they did something to my phone, man. I'm telling you.
You had TikTok on there, didn't you?
I did, but I removed TikTok.
But once you have TikTok on your phone, they have their teeth in your phone system.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, hey, so did you see what Netflix is doing, or like
Oh
what they're
God,
trying to do?
what
They're
are they
trying to
doing?
like, they're trying to, so they're trying to get rid of the people that are like piggybacking, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Right.
no,
So like,
they're saying you select where your main computer is, and then if they're picking up your signal being uh, if they're seeing your account on other somewhere else, that they're gonna block it or whatever.
well, and the way that it's like working is you're supposed to sign into your home Wi-Fi
Yeah,
at least once a month on each of the devices that uses your account.
yeah.
Okay, well, so one problem with that. Oh, and I've got another bone to pick about Netflix. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Um, but what about people like me? I don't have a home Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like everything's through my mobile data. I got two different devices that have mobile data, and I hotspot all my devices, even my TV off my phones.
Yeah.
So does my Netflix then become completely useless? And speaking of Netflix being completely useless, up until before the pandemic, whenever I was traveling, wherever I was in the world, like 70 different countries, I've had Netflix since like, dude, I've been a Netflix member since I was sending back the DVDs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember that. They'd mail you DVD, Blu-rays, and DVDs, and you'd mail it back when you were done with it.
No, dude, there was no Blu-ray when I was a member, when I became a member of
No, I know,
Netflix.
but it went from DVDs to Blu-rays.
Yeah. So literally, like I've always been a member of Netflix since Netflix came into existence.
Yeah.
And in March, when I was in the Philippines, it worked. In October, when I was in the Philippines, it did not work. And not only did they say they couldn't make it work, they told me I should just cancel my account and create a new account for the Philippines. I'm like, I'm going to be here for a month. Why would I like delete my account, create an account, delete my account, create an account?
Yeah.
And then in months when I come back, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like when I get to the position I'm going to be in, like I'm only going to be in this country half the time.
Yeah.
So like Netflix is losing me. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like my brother who does at-home care for two people. So he's at home for several days, and then he's over where he helps take care of some friends for several days. So what happens when he watches his Netflix account over on where he's and his wife and son are watching it at home.
Well, that's fine as long as they sign into the home Wi-Fi once a month. But
Yeah,
like
but
that
so he
means
has
my
to pack up the desktop computer at where he takes care of these guys, bring it all the way back to his house once a month, and then back it up and take it back.
if he's running the Netflix through the desktop, then yeah, that's exactly what he'd have to do.
Which is idiotic. It's stupid.
So yeah, it's crazy. So and then like Disney doesn't work over there without a VPN.
Which I mean, it's kind of funny because Netflix was the one who promoted sharing your password with friends so they could get on and check out
Yeah,
Netflix.
like love is sharing your password.
Yeah, share your password. Let your friends get on your account and watch shows and stuff. They pushed that.
Yeah, but
Several years.
the idea behind it was they figured that people would sign up for their own accounts.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And now
So
they're the biggest ones pushing to stop it.
yeah, so Prime doesn't work over there except for the movies that I actually bought.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, I love Fight Club. I love the Matrix trilogy. I love the Green TV show. Those are all things that I bought on my Prime. That's all I can watch on Prime when I'm over there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Karate Kid, the new version.
The one where they go over to China?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
And then
that.
I have stop saying China. Anyway, and then a bunch of kids movies that I'm not going to watch that I've owned since like the kids were little.
Yeah.
Like when Prime Video first came out, I used to buy a lot of stuff for the kids. So when we were traveling and when they were traveling between Alaska and Texas, they would be able to watch on the flights.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that. But yeah, like, and now I'm like trying to figure out like, okay, so what's going to be my like media source when I'm traveling? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. What can you use here and there? Hulu?
I don't know. I never even tried Hulu though. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and you know, I'm getting rid of Disney anyways. I'm getting rid of well, I'm never gonna get rid of Prime because I order too much stuff on Amazon and it comes with the free shipping.
Yeah. I have a hard time with Disney Plus because I love Star Wars. I've always been a huge Star Wars fan and stuff, but God, they've come so woke. I just hate the messages they're putting out there. It's just driving me crazy. I mean, I've read hundreds of Star Wars books all through high school and into college and stuff, and I knew the history of Star Wars and everything, and it just and I was so happy, kind of happy when Disney bought Star Wars because as much as I hate what Disney's been doing with Star Wars, at least they're making them, because if Disney had bought them, there wasn't going to be any more Star Wars.
Yeah, so, I mean that's good,
but I hate the message they're putting into all of them.
Yeah. So, anyways, did you have anything that you saw in the news? Like I always seem to drive and Brad didn't show up. He's always usually got something that he heard during the day or something.
No, I'm good right now. I've just, I don't know. For a while there, I was listening to the news every day for hours a day. I listened to it when I was driving. Lately, I've just sort of been, I don't know, trying to watch some programs or listen to programs as I'm driving, just sort of avoiding the news for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm with you. I do a lot of driving too, like living an hour and a half from the city, like.
Yeah.
And then everything I do, I have to drive around to get to my clients and stuff like that. So yeah, it makes it kind of tough. So anyways, well, guys, thanks for joining us. Pay attention to the propaganda, especially if it comes to the left or the east. So Russia, China, and actually anybody talking anything nice about China, you can pretty much guarantee it's propaganda. We're at the end of the show, so if they fuck up the feed, whatever. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, share, and then if you're watching us on YouTube, we're chronically on the edge of getting kicked off of YouTube. We do actually have an Off the Rails Right versus Left, the sequel. You can go to that channel and watch us there too if this one ends up getting deleted. So until they come from that one, that's always a backup option. We do have a channel on Rumble. It's otrrvl. So that's Oscar Tango Roger Victor Lima. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Go to Rumble. That's the best option. Go to Rumble.
So you can go there. We'll make sure that you're able to keep getting our content because
here it is. Make sure to add us on rumble.com/otrrvl right down the bottom.
Perfect. Love how you did that, man. That was like awesome. So you can also catch us on Twitter. Rob E. Brown is my handle on there. I think you can do RB Coca-Cola too. Like, I'm not sure. We do have an Off the Rails Right versus Left page on Facebook. You can catch us there too. So lots of options to get a hold of us and to follow what we're doing. So check it out. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll see what we're going to be talking about then.
Yay. Peace.
Yeah, have a good night. And sorry, Bradley couldn't couldn't leave us. We miss his entertaining noises and imitations of
His stroking the mic stand and
no, it's the,
putting up
yeah,
donkey shows.
and they're turning the turtles gay.
Yeah. With cockle jokes.
Yeah, cuck jokes and donkey shows and donkey punches now. Oh my god.
Caribou.
Anyway, but we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Hopefully Brad's with us. You guys have a great night. I should have had this queued up because it ends up making me look like a dummy when I can't do this.
Oh, the donkey. The donkey. No sound?
Look, Biden was running across the field.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap this up.